Bring back the Aussie mixed grill. How good does this look? If you're not familiar with the pub classic, the Aussie mixed grill, firstly give yourself an uppercut. Let's transform this into this. What wouldn't be Aussie if rosemary wasn't free from down the road somewhere?
Hey guys, so John's got himself a beautiful sirloin roast. It's going to be really soft, incredible for his mixed grill. Enjoy, mate.
Cheers, mate. As you can see here, we've got a bevy of treats. We've got smoked bacon, we've got sirloin, we've got ribs, we've got mushies, snags, we've got lamb cutlets, we've got Australian-made rubs, we're going to get garlic butter at the back for those field mushies, and obviously some rosemary, because we're fancy. There's that chunk of sirloin from Moey's Butcher, smoked bacon, lamb cutlets, 2 racks of pork ribs. Might be a little bit overkill for the mixed grill. Now we've got some beef and pork snags, bit of rosemary, why not? We've got Oz Dirt, Backyard BBQ HealthIE. HealthIE is for the mushies and Tommy. Oz Dirt for the pork. Backyard BBQ, being a red meat specialist, goes really, really well on the lamb cutlets and the sirloin, but it would be Backyard BBQ on the meat side and then just some salt and oil on the fat side. Ready to rock and roll, get some butter. Finely chopped garlic. You can use minced garlic if you want, but it's a bit pungent. And then some parsley and pepper on top. There's those field mushies that I was talking about before. And then in the deep fryer, we'll do some chips at the end. Now, before we fire up the barbecue, smoker, oven, depending on where you want to do it, we're going to do some mise en place for you fancy buggers, or prep. So we're going to do a lot of the seasoning, trim a lot of these pieces up. You can even do this the night before. You can even dry brine some of this, in particular that big hunk of sirloin just there. So let's get to that, then we'll bang it into the fridge, then we can utilise that time to set up the barbecue. In particular, this time I'm using a smoker. I'm going to be smoking a lot of this meat and then I'm going to be searing it directly over wood fire, because that to me is just the ultimate way to get the best texture and flavour into the Aussie mixed grill. Right, because we want to dry brine and get as much salt into this beef as possible. Just going to go some cracked salt. You can use something like Maldon's, whatever. Then Backyard BBQ on the meat side, so we'll just pop that bad boy open. Some freshies today. Now, typically I would use a binder on a larger cut. This one's still got a fair bit of moisture, so the rub should hold on fairly well. If not, I'm a big fan of using some sriracha on the meat side. About a tablespoon for about a kilo should do it. Now, it's a nice cut of meat, so we don't want to overpower it, of course. The barbecue rub is there to complement any particular coffee-based rub like this. Is absolutely cracking with red meat from Nice and High. And remember, Pat, don't rub. You always save that for the bedroom. Because if you season from a bit of height, sort of 50 to 60 centimetres, you're going to get a nice even coverage of that seasoning, and that avoids burnt spots, especially when you get some nice caramelisation from the sugars in your barbecue seasoning. Now, because we're eating all sides, we're obviously seasoning all sides. Remember, just the meat side with the Backyard BBQ, because we're going to go straight salt on the fat cap. Now we're just going to lightly score the fat cap across the top. That will just basically, in a crosshatch fashion, that will open up the fat cap ever so slightly, allow some that flavour penetration. A little bit of caramelisation, looks pretty cool too, to be honest. Now we're going to dry brine this in the fridge, but firstly we're just going to give it a quick crack with some salt over the fat side. That'll do it. Bang this into the fridge. Now, last but certainly not least is these little lamb cutlets. I'm going to go very light. A little tiny bit of Backyard BBQ, nothing, but obviously you don't want to overpower it. Exact same principle as that sirloin. Pat, don't rub, save that for the bedroom. And if you're going to eat all sides, make sure you season all the sides. Dab up anything that we missed, because I'm tighter than a fistful of a-holes and I don't want to leave any rub behind. All right, we can wrap them up. They can go into the fridge too. Right, as you can see, I try to work smarter, not harder. Maybe a little bit of laziness as well. So I use grease-proof paper, something relatively thick, especially when I'm crossing between 2 separate proteins and all that sort of good stuff. Now I've got a clean cutting board. I can transplant these pork ribs straight onto the top without any fear of cross-contamination. Then we'll season these up. Pork spare ribs, completely up to you, but I like to trim off any of that thin stuff like that, because that's basically going to overcook essentially. It's going to dry up, it's going to be pretty crap. Alternatively to that, you can cook these separate, a little bit of a pitmaster snack, or leave them on, and then maybe halfway to 3/4 of the way through the cook, nick them off. Nice little beer snack to go with your cook. So basically anything that's exceptionally thin, get rid of it, flip it over. Completely up to you. You can remove the membrane, up to you. I like to sometimes just put a little crisscross on the back. That'll allow the smoke to penetrate through, and also a little bit of that seasoning as well. And this is the point too, in particular if you've got a large bit of silver skin on the top, you can take that off as well. Particularly you've got dry meat, like it's been dry hanging in your butcher, etc. 100% use a binder, and particularly if something like thin like this, if you put a heavy coat of sriracha, you actually taste some of that caramelization come through the sriracha, but you do have to be careful if you add too much. A lot of that rub can actually break away and separate in between, as you can imagine, the meat, liquid rub. If it's too thick, when the liquid heats up, it can start to come away. So when you rub it on, you're just a nice thin coat so you can just see the sriracha across the top. Now I'm using the award-winning Oz Dirt, and just a little tip, if you're starting to get into humidity, Australia's in their winter time now, but particularly if you're in North Queensland, you're through that Asia sort of Pacific area, you get a lot of humidity. My little tip, as per the sticker on the top, bang your seasonings into the fridge, nice and dry, bugger all humidity, and it will stop these from clumping. As you can see, we've got a buddy. I'm not fancy enough to have a GoPro photographer or anything like that, so I've got to do it myself. Right, now if you are going to use a binder, like I said, you can probably use about half a teaspoon per side of ribs, or about a teaspoon to a tablespoon per kilo of meat. That's the sort of level that I'm talking about. You can see the sriracha, but it doesn't completely cover the meat. It's only a thin cut anyway, these spare ribs. For smoking your meat one particular direction, i.e. you're going to have a face up, you always want to do the binder and the seasoning on the underneath side. So when you flip it over, because that can sort of get rubbed off on your board, and when you slam it into your smoker, it can potentially cause it to not look as pretty. But if you don't give a rat's ass and you don't care about little high spots with your seasoning, don't worry about it. That's the top that we really want to worry about, because that's where we're going to see a lot of that airflow, particularly in a barrel smoker, whether it be a pellet or an offset like mine. Nice and aerodynamic, the smoke's going to go over the top. And if you can imagine, you've got big humps and bumps, the smoke's going to hit that a lot more than the lower section, so that's going to cause that high area to burn up a little. And we want to go about enough seasoning so you can just about see the ruby red. We don't need to go too heavy because it is a relatively thin cut. If you've got some massive meaty pork ribs like I know you do in the States a lot, then you can obviously go a bit heavier. Now, it's not spoken about a lot for some unknown reason, but it's very relevant for briskets, for example, when you've got the point end a lot thicker. As you're passing over, just like you would a spray gun in particular areas, I want you to go a little bit heavier on the thicker parts of the meat, because they obviously need more seasoning, right? Pork ribs are no stranger to this. Just use your hands to guide it in. Don't mean to insult your intelligence if you're already all over this, and you're just here to see how I do my Aussie mixed grill. Bob's your uncle, prep's son. Let's go start up that fire. Righto, battle plug is on. We're just going to leave them in 2-wheel drive today. It's not raining, we're good to go. Now, because I've got a Queenslander, it's quite tight under here. Just going to wheel the smoker out so the smoke doesn't billow underneath in the man cave. As you can see, I just put in a little adjustable elbow on just to push the smoke from underneath the house. Pretty good, and it doesn't affect the draw at all because it's only about an additional 3 to 4 centimetres in height. Right, the way I like to set up my fire, 2 big lumps down the bottom for the base, and then we'll slowly go up smaller till we've got almost kindling size at the top. Bit of charcoal down the middle for a base of coal, also helps to light it up. Medium size on top of that, and about half that again. The 2 small ones on top, and then we'll throw lit charcoal straight down the guts. Now, just a tip with Aussie Q, if you're running out of firelighters and you've just got the dregs in the bottom, get a bit of butcher's paper. Like this, and then just wrap up all the dregs and stuff into the butcher's paper, tightly roll it up. All your durry punches should be all over this. Then just bend it to the shape you want, in this case because I'm using the old Heatbeads firestarter igniter thing. Yes, as you can see, I'm using glove. No, you could argue I'm not a pussy, but when you're filming going between the cameras, it's much easier just to take a glove off and instead of having dirty hands getting all the camera filthy. flick him on. Alright, less than 10 minutes, and it should be yarked up, ready to go, and we'll bang it into the fire. Alright, charcoal is now pretty much fully lit, just pour it straight down the bottom. Straight to the gut, sorry. And we'll just start to move those smaller ones into the middle. Basically what will happen is they'll catch a light, then once they're alight, they'll slowly break down, arc up the bigger ones, and the fire will start to work from the bottom up. Right, the smoker's sitting at about 130 Celsius. We're going to go ribs on the top rack, blast them with a bit of heat, and we'll move them down to the bottom to finish off the cook. And there's those little bits that we had before. Right, we'll let that ride for about an hour, then we'll throw the sirloin on, because that should take about an hour, hour and 20. When that hits about 47 Celsius, we'll pull that off. Oh, preheated just a little bit too much, I think. As you can tell, I have got this fire roaring. Started a little bit late in the day. Right, temperature's dropped down a little bit. Trying to throw the first log on. Now, we'll use that one that just bloody caught on fire. Perfectly ready to go. Now we're just going to put that on the edge. That will be a slow burn and also produce a little bit more smoke. Right, as you know, we're going hot and fast, so now we're going to transfer the ribs down to the cooler spot of the smoker, and then we can start thinking about doing the sirloin. Alright, as you can see, the ribs are going hot and fast, got some nice colour on it. It's starting to pare back on the bones. It's now time to throw in that big chunk of sirloin. That should do, I reckon. See you in about 45 minutes. Right, time to throw in another log. Now, if you're in the offset game, you're thinking about getting an offset in the future, just obviously this whole entire Aussie, this cook can be done on frying pans, oven, gas barbecue, whatever. I'm using Queensland ironbark. Now, to judge for thickness, I generally speaking go about the top of my forearm. I'm not a big bloody unit, so do with that what you will. As you can see, we're now sitting at about 115 Celsius, about 240 Fahrenheit. When the sirloin gets to around about 30 Celsius internal, which is just over halfway for a medium rare, next thing is I'm going to bang the snags in, and then we'll get ready to move to the more searing type options. That'll be done right at the end when I remove the sirloin, because I'm doing reverse here. So when it's resting, we'll get all the stuff ready to sear at the end. Now, these aren't massive links, so I'm just going to put these down the bottom. It'll take about an hour or so to get some nice colour. Just to have them offset so you get a nice even smoke. Alright. Sirloin's approaching about 45 Celsius internal. We're now going to throw on the lamb cutlets. Just get a little bit of smoke, and then we can do a quick sear if we have to. I generally go the fat cap and the bone facing towards the heat just to absorb some of that. Just going to give these sausages a little flick as well. Right, sirloin's at about 47 Celsius internal. Look at the colour on that. Now, resting is obviously a big key. Do you cover it or not? Try not to wrap it too tight with foil. I use pink butcher's paper. This allows it to breathe, doesn't ruin the crust, and most importantly, stops it from overcooking. Okay, now that we're approaching the searing phase, as you can see, I've thrown on an additional 2 logs. So we're sitting on 3, so we get the searing plate nice and hot. Garlic butter also sitting on the top, just slowly melting out, and they'll get brushed over the mushies at the end. Right, time to wrap the ribs. The sirloin's been resting for about 7 to 10 minutes. They are good to go. Look, you can see the bones pulled back, nice and soft to the touch. We've got some nice bark colour happening. Sausage is taking on some colour. Same with the lamb. They'll pull that off in a minute. Time to set up the searing station. If you like your lamb cutlets at medium rare, 55 Celsius finish temperature is where you want it. Pull the snags off too. I won't worry about searing the snags. I will with the lamb though. It'd be nice just to render out a little bit more of that fat, get some nice caramelisation on them. Bacon, you're coming off. You're going to get... Oop, come here. So it doesn't shit the bed. Now, if I was doing proper hot links, this is where I'd chuck it into a cold ice bath, and then I'll heat them up in the smoke when I'm ready to serve. You can go over here, they'll keep nice and warm. Don't try this at home, kids. Field mushies on first. All we're going to do with the tomato is split it down the guts. That's going to go straight on. I'm going to grab that tomato, see if this works. Grab that tomato, dip it in that garlic butter, and watch this. And that's going to go straight over the top. Give it a bit of a lick of the flame. Just got the tucker press on there, just getting a nice sear on that mushroom. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Okay, tomato's got a nice sear on it. We'll just move that to the cooler zone. Quick sear for the lamb. Mushies off. Sirloin prepared earlier. Fat cap down first. Look at that. Just the way I like it. I'm a charry kind of guy, so it's just like a bit of mixture of seared and char. Quick sear on that side, quick sear on that side, and job's done. Right. We're now back in the kitchen. Everything's been seared off. The last step we're going to do is lay it all out. Last final season, and then brush some garlic butter over that mushroom. And I find the brush. Sirloin being the centerpiece. Ribs. Smoked snags. Got a thick cut smoked bacon. Tommy's. Beautifully bloody smoked and seared lamb cutlets. I'm going to brush some of that garlic butter straight over the top. Look at that. On the Tommies as well. Now just a bit of finishing salt over those slices of steak. I'm going to bang some chips on them. Ooh, good looking chips. Thanks, Mrs. Q. Ooh, truck. Remember, not underneath your bloody steaks. I don't know why people do it. It kills it. Don't forget chicken and chips on the chips, obviously. The absolute goated poultry rub works crazy well on the chips because of that fine texture as well. Look at that. Right, you're now done. It's time to peacock around the house, show everyone how good you are. And if you don't know how to smoke bacon, check out my other YouTube. Show you some homemade bacon. How good does this look? Quick recap in case you've been sleeping through the video. We've got hot chips seasoned with the chicken and chips rub. We've got beef and pork snags. We've got home cut, thick smoked bacon. We've got Tommy's. We've got smoked pork ribs seasoned with Oz dirt. We've got some more hot chips on this side. We've got that beautiful sirloin from Moey's Butcher's seasoned with Backyard BBQ on the meat side, salt, and then scored on the fat. Lamb cutlets, very lightly seasoned with Backyard BBQ because we don't overpower it, of course, but the coffee rub works a treat there. Then our field mushrooms with that garlic, butter, and parsley rendition. Can't end the video there. Of course, we're going to have, the obligatory pub sprigs of like mint and, random like bits and pieces here and there. Well, I hope you're keen as me for the resurgence of the Aussie mixed grill. Get behind it. Tell your pub to bloody get one and make it as good as this bloody spread. Hope you enjoyed it. Inspired you to cook your own mixed grill. Comment down below the best mixed grill you've had in Australia and the Greek mixed grills and the Mediterranean through the Middle East. I know they do some bangers too. Righto, I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out all my other ones in the Camp Cook series. I like to do a little bit of survival, camp cooking, throw a few tips and tricks in there, whether it be navigation, water purification, all that sort of stuff. So have a look. Make sure you bang it in. Cheers.